Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to season 5 and episode number 750 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Always 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Tuesday, September 30th, 2025, National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. And we will be talking about that today. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, hey. And I am very, very, very excited because, as usual, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. Yay! I was just going to say I have a surprise for you, but Mr. Grizzly was a little trigger happy. He couldn't wait.
I'm eager. I'm eager. I don't get to do this very much anymore, so.
I know. I'm so excited you're here. Okay. A big thank you goes to our podcast funding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. And I can't wait to see all the yays in the chat.
You just went out of focus for some reason.
I know it's been doing that lately. Anyway, we have, of course, we have a show for you today. And we will, of course, talk about National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. And if we have time, of course, we'll get into other topics and of course, catch up with Mr. Grizzly. But since he's here, I can ask him, Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health today, sir?
I think it's pretty good. Yeah,
Yay.
I think it's pretty good. Not wide awake this morning. I didn't sleep well last night. Tossed and turned. I went to bed at my regular hour, like 9:30.
Okay.
Which it's a lot easier now because it's dark at that time, so it doesn't throw me off track as much. But yeah, I think I'm doing pretty good. I just made a fresh pot of coffee. Lola was hounding the hell out of me earlier because she's like, "What's going on? How come we should be out? It's like past 4:30. Why are we still in bed?" And I'm like, "Because I don't have to get up so early today." I don't want to use the word holiday. Holiday implies, happiness and joy.
Yes.
That's not what today is. It's kind of like Remembrance Day. It's not a holiday. It's a day for remembrance, that's what this is for. So it's a day when I'm not in the office because our office is closed today.
Mm-hmm.
There is, of course, skeletal staff for things that need to be dealt with when they need to be dealt with because of where I work. But yeah, it's I'm home today and happy to be able to do a show and have a cup of coffee with y'all, and we can talk about some things that need to be discussed.
Oh, I'm so happy you're here. As you can see, both of us have our shirts on today. We'll just do a little modeling. There you go. Of course, we'll talk about a little bit about t-shirts today because there have been some concerns about certain T-shirts and where they may be coming from.
Oh,
That has been made it's been made the news this year. Yeah, I've been seeing it all over on Facebook and stuff. There's lots of advertisement on Facebook, and it's like so many people that are allegedly indigenous-based companies making shirts for the day, and I'm like, I'm just seeing them, and it's like this is like the 17th company that I've seen claiming to be indigenous-based, making these T-shirts and selling them, and they all have different names.
yeah. I
Uh,
don't know who made mine. I think this is made by Gildan, which would be a union shop here in Ontario. I don't believe they're Indigenous in any way, shape, or form. I don't know. I got this from my workplace. It was given to me. So,
yeah. Mine is the artist is Patrick Hunter, who's a two-spirit Ojibwe artist originally from Red Lake, Ontario, who specializes in acrylic paintings and digital designs inspired by his Ojibwe roots. He creates with the intention of bringing more joy into the world while increasing the awareness of Indigenous cultures and iconography. And to see more of his work, you can visit www.patrickhunter.ca. 100% of the proceeds of the shirt that I got were donated to Inspire to support the Learning from the Past Fund, which provides bursaries to Indigenous post-secondary students pursuing an education in Indigenous studies and languages. But there are other organizations as well. I think there's the Orange Shirt Society as well that are, making partnerships with stores and trying to take that money and then to the money from that and recycle it into programs as well. So we'll have a little bit on that.
well, I need to ask you something. I may have learned something new here today. I don't
Okay.
know. How did you pronounce his tribe?
Ojibwe?
Is it Ojibwe or Ojibwe?
Oh,
Because you said Ojibwe, and I was very confused. I didn't know. I always thought it was Ojibwe, but maybe it isn't.
yeah. Okay. That must have been a slip of the tongue on my part because I've always known it as Ojibwe.
Okay, yeah, because you
Yeah.
said Ojibwe, and I'm like,
Oh,
are
okay.
you saying it incorrectly?
Nope. Okay.
I don't immediately go to that was wrong. It's like maybe I'm wrong. I don't
No,
know.
no. That was my tongue going faster than my brain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've
It's
never
sort of
I've never heard it pronounced with the emphasis on the wrong syllable.
yes, thank you. Right. No, that's yeah. Okay.
Okay. So, uh, in the chat today, we have Kit Elaine and Kit Bucky saying good morning. Kit Jillian also saying good morning. Kit Uncover is here. Yes, thank you so much. There was a story yesterday or the day before yesterday about some remains having been found close to a school. And I thought for sure I had bookmarked it so I could have it for today because yeah, I wanted to present it in the context, of course, of a lot of people who, for whatever reasons, I've never actually talked to someone who has this position to actually find out their reasons and why it is that they would be so invested and they're not wanting to be. Uh, this, that this would all be a hoax. Um, but yeah, that they're they keep on coming all over the internet and saying, "Well, show me the bodies, then show me the bodies." Then like this is supposed to happen. We're supposed to do this just to satisfy you, and we're supposed to
Yes.
do it on your schedule. Things will be done in the proper way by the people who are most affected by this, and when they have results, should they wish to share them with you, they will. Right? You're not driving this boat. So I wanted to see what type of store if it was, see if it could be presented in that context. But yeah, indeed, we should look more at that article, Mr. Grizzly, because
Yeah.
that's one I hadn't come across yet. If you can bring us the content in it.
I just put it in the chat.
Okay, perfect.
I'll try. I'll read some of it to you, but I'm gonna butcher this name. I apologize. Deninu Coup First Nation. Deninu Coup. I believe that's how I pronounce it. I'm probably way wrong. The Ninakun First Nation says its archaeological team has located 7 unmarked graves, 5 of which belong to children, at Mission Island as part of an investigation into the deaths of children at St. Joseph's Residential School. While growing up, I heard stories of children who were mistreated at the school, children who got sick and died because of malnutrition or abuse. Chief Louis Balsillie said on August 7th. We know that during the 1940s, 8 children died at the school. 7 of them were girls. Statistically, that cannot happen without a cause. What happened to these girls? Now we are finding children buried on Mission Island. I am committed to continuing our investigation into what happened at the schools to bring about so many deaths, Balsillie added. The chief has stated his social media account that the graves were found in the back of the big cross. So, yeah, there you go. So, one more example. It says, locating the graves marks a major step in an investigation on Mission Island that has been ongoing since the late Angus Beaulieu told DKFN that the island was a likely burial ground for victims. A mission school was in operation on the island from 1857 to 1890. The school was then moved to Fort Resolution and occupied the St. Joseph's Residential School complex in 1903. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's one of many stories. There's a couple more here that I have. Actually, quite a few that Uncover the News sent to me.
Yeah, indeed. So yeah, I did a search for it again this morning, and unfortunately could not find it, and put out a call to see if anybody else had seen it. But yeah, there had been yet a story. Like I said, it was either yesterday or the day before. Today, we have a little bit of I don't know if they're called testimonies or whatnot, but we have some perspectives of a couple of people that have some articles that have been written that we will bring you today. But first, there will be, as we mentioned yesterday, no sitting of Parliament either yesterday or today. That will return Wednesday, so there'll be no parliamentary activities that we know of. It's a National Day for Truth and Reconciliation is designated as a federal statutory holiday. It's also observed by British Columbia, Manitoba, Prince Edward Island, Yukon, Nunavut, and the Northwest Territories, as well as the Nova Scotia and New Brunswick provincial governments. Prime Minister Mark Carney is set to join Governor General Mary Simon, along with residential school survivors, Indigenous leaders, and dignitaries for the official commemoration ceremony on the parliamentary front lawn, which will, quote, honor the thousands of lives lost or traumatically impacted by the residential school system, according to the program provided by Rideau Hall, and that will take place at around 3 p.m. Of course, there are smaller satellite events that are expected to be held all across the country. Journalist Barbara Patrochinio had the opportunity to talk to Ontario MPP Saul Mamakwa and wrote an article about it. And I would like to read it into the record because he is urging the province to support repatriation of residential school victims. And the article goes, as Canadians prepare to mark the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation on September 30th, Ontario NDP MPP Sol Mamakwa says the province must go beyond symbolism and take real action to address the ongoing impacts of residential schools. Quote, there's still so much room for improvement, said Mamakwa, who represents the northern riding of Kiiwetinoong and is the only First Nations MPP at Queen's Park. Quote, we need to move towards real reconciliation, not just performative exercises. The federal statutory holiday honors the survivors of Canada's residential school system and remembers the children who never returned home. More than 150,000 First Nations Inuit and Métis children were forcibly removed from their families and placed in institutions that aimed to, quote, Indian from the child. And personal editorial addition here, this has been explicitly stated despite all objections from denialists. Or all apologia from denialists that have to say, well, the schools did some good, right? Or their hearts were in the right place. No, they wanted to remove the Indian from the child.
Period.
There's no good place that comes from.
What was it? They said the only portion of the that would remain was their blood.
Yeah. Anyway. Ontario was home to 18 of those schools, including the one Mamakwa himself attended in the early 1980s. Quote, "This is not something from the distant past," Mamakwa said. "I went to a residential school. The impacts are still felt across our communities every day." While the federal government created the holiday in 2021 in response to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's calls to action, Ontario has yet to formally recognize the day as a provincial statutory holiday, which is really interesting because Doug Ford sure likes to take a lot of holidays.
Yeah, no kidding. I do recognize that most people are working today. It's a federal holiday, so federal public servants and those who work in ancillary departments, such as myself, do have the day off.
Mhm.
Previously, I was working at a Crown Corp, so I would also get the day off. But yeah,
Yeah. Last year, Mamakwa introduced a private member's bill to change that, but it didn't survive the final vote in the legislature. Why would you vote against that?
Mm.
At the time, Indigenous Affairs Minister Greg Rickford said the province wasn't, quote, prepared for a holiday yet. Okay. Quote, "I don't think until we get clear consensus from those Indigenous-led groups that the commemorative and memorializing activities should move forward until we've heard from them, and we haven't," Rickford said at the time. Which begs the obvious question, did you ask?
Probably not.
Did you make the effort to ask, or are you just waiting to hear from them? Because that's the only I do not have a profound and in-depth knowledge of all Indigenous communities through Ontario, but I have a sneaking suspicion, I do not know why, that, commemorating and memorializing this is not something with which they would have an objection. I could be wrong, but I doubt it.
I don't think you are.
Oh my god. We haven't heard from them. It's like the only context you have not heard from them is because you magically thought that they were supposed to proactively come to you and tell you.
Hmm.
And that you were their first priorities to do that. Uh, Putting yourself at the center of things a little bit there, aren't you?
Yeah, well, it's Dougie. What do you
Yeah.
expect?
My god. We're not prepared for it. Oh
You've had time. It's been 5 years.
my
How
Jeez.
much time do you need?
Oh my god. Okay.
Wow, did you ever get pink there all of a sudden?
I know it's camera. Yeah, things are really
You need
weird.
more lights.
Some days the same light washes me out, and then another day it turns pink, and I don't know why, because every time I turn it on, it resets to the original level.
Mm,
So no matter how I adjust it, and yeah, it has a mind of its own. Um,
very
all
strange.
right. Uh, I think people in Ontario need time to stop and reflect, Mamakwa said. Not to take the day off, but a day on, he said, to really understand the impacts of residential schools and what needs to change. One of the most pressing needs to support a demand he constantly hears from constituents, according to Mamakwa, is a permanent provincial office to support the repatriation of Indigenous children who died in the residential school system but were never returned to their families. He pointed to a recent example involving the family of Percy Onabagon, a child from Long Lake 58 First Nation who died nearly 60 years ago after being transferred between institutions without his family's knowledge. His remains were buried in a cemetery more than 400 kilometers away in Woodstock, Ontario. Only after years of advocacy, Percy was finally brought home with help from the provincial government to fund the exhumation and reburial. Quote, "This is the second time I've witnessed a repatriation like this," Mamakwa said, "but the families shouldn't have to fight so hard to bring their children home. There should be a system in place." I agree. He also cited the work of the late Senator Murray Sinclair, who chaired the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and called on governments to review and amend laws to support the return of Indigenous remains and artifacts. Mamakwa says Ontario has yet to follow through. When asked if he plans to table a new bill focused on repatriation, Mamakwa said he's still considering his options, but he's clear that the provincial government must do more, not just on ceremonial days, but year round. Quote, "Since 2021, when the federal government passed legislation to make it a statutory holiday, I haven't seen progress," Mamakwa said. Quote, things have actually gotten worse for many Indigenous people, he said. Whether it's access to healthcare, housing, or justice, we are still being left behind. And again, my own personal editorial edition. But this year, we also had Premier Doug Ford more than strongly suggest that Indigenous communities were particularly, I don't know, uh, deliberately trying to stand in way of any meaningful development yet coming to the province cap in hand, for which he had to apologize the very next day because he was meeting with Indigenous people who showed him a lot of grace by accepting his apology, only for a few weeks later to have his Minister of the Environment, along with the Minister of Environment of Alberta, write a letter to the Government of Canada saying, why do you need to protect waterways and water tables near Indigenous communities? It's just going to get in the way of development that we won't be able to do if you do that. No
Yeah.
wonder Doug never got around to it. Just saying. Doesn't sound like it's much of a priority for the guy.
Well, it's going to dip into the bottom line of his billionaire buddies, right?
Right. Can't have that.
If it hurts the bottom line, he's got to get rid of it.
Yeah. For Mamakwa, September 30th is not just a date to remember the past, but also a moment to think about what can be done to improve the future. Quote, reconciliation isn't a one-day event, he said. It's a commitment. And right now, we're still waiting for Ontario to meet it.
Oh, yeah.
How's that for some truth? Gotta drop some. Oh, boy. Mr. Grizzly, do you happen to know anyone from the Indigenous community at all?
Yes.
Yeah. Do
My
you?
nephews, my brother-in-law.
Okay. Do they talk to you about this type of stuff now and then, or does it come up?
No, not really.
Not really. Eh?
No, not really. It's they weren't directly affected by it, so I don't know what their take on it is. Now my sister's ex-husband, I still call him my brother-in-law, because,
Yeah.
I have nephews, my nephews, his children, their children. His mother grew up on the res, and she could tell you stories about her grandmother going to residential school. But I don't know to what extent his family was directly affected or her family, other than her grandparents. I couldn't tell you, but it's not a conversation I've ever had. But yes, I do know people who are directly affected by it for sure.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I've same thing. I know people, but same thing. Never really like unless you go to something that has to do with this. Never proactively have had that type of conversation. I don't. It's one. Like, how would I put it? Um, I would be perfectly okay
Mhm.
if somebody wanted to talk to me about that. I would be open and receptive, but
It's
I
not a
don't think
subject
it's.
I'm gonna broach, though.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the kind of thing you go up to people and go, "Hey, if you want to talk
Eh,
about it, here
no,
I
it's not, and it's if somebody decides to discuss it, then let's have the conversation, but I'm not gonna open up the floodgates on that one just because I don't feel I have any right to.
Well, number 1, 2, and if you're gonna open up something, you have gotta be sure that you can mop up the mess,
Well, that's the other thing too,
and yet you have the skills for it.
I don't, because there's some people that were deeply affected by it and others who, I won't say were affected by it directly, but indirectly, certainly, generational, trauma. It's a thing.
Yeah,
It spills over and it floods the zone, and yeah, it affects everybody. So,
yeah. Mr. Grizzly, since in that article from Salma Mamakwa there was reference to the calls to action
mhm.
from the National Truth and Reconciliation Commission, do you have any information out there about where we are at on that?
Well, according to, this article from CTV, the headline says it's going to take us 150 years.
Hmm.
Canada's still working to implement Truth and Reconciliation Commission recommendations. A decade after the Truth and Reconciliation Commission issued 94 calls to action, Canada still has a long way to go to address the impacts of the residential school system on Indigenous people. I think about it. 150 years it took for us to get here to this very dysfunctional, toxic relationship that is highly problematic. University of Manitoba Indigenous Studies professor Negan Sinclair told CTV's Your Morning on Monday. It's going to take us 150 years to get to a different place. In 10 years, we have done some substantial work. So, yeah, Negan Sinclair is a writer, activist, and the son of former judge and Senator Murray Sinclair, who chaired the Truth and Reconciliation Commission from 2009 to 2015 when it issued its final report. Murray Sinclair passed away in 2024 at age 73. So, yeah, only 14 of those calls to action have been completed to date, including the appointment of an Indigenous Language Commissioner and the establishment of a statutory holiday, also known as Orange Shirt Day, the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, which is, of course, today, September 30th. The young kids, the students, they absolutely understand that this is a critical issue, Sinclair said. You have to put Indigenous peoples at the center for every single economic issue, environmental issue, and every single step forward in this country. Of the remaining calls to action, 42 remain in progress, 22 are stalled, and 15 have not started, according to Indigenous Watchdog. None of the calls to action pertaining to child welfare, education, and health have been completed. There are certain calls to action, about 3/4 of them, that will never be done. They will be ongoing, Sinclair explained. Health, child welfare, these are ongoing tasks. Sinclair says when it comes to issues like education, he is still seeing important progress, which he largely credits to the leadership of former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Well, he made many mistakes. While he made many mistakes during his time and perhaps had as many stumbles as there was successes, Justin Trudeau was the first Prime Minister to really care to engage Indigenous issues meaningfully, Sinclair said. Every Prime Minister before that, including his own father, were harmful and cruel. CTV News reached out to Crown Indigenous Relations and Northern Affairs Canada for comment, but did not receive a response before publication. So once again, for those folks who love to hate watch us and hate the name Justin Trudeau, once again, something he did has left an indelible stamp on this nation.
Mm-hmm.
We have said time and time again, love him, hate him, disagree with him, whatever, he will be remembered in history as a transformational prime minister because he did a lot of things for a lot of good for millions of people in this country.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. There's a lot of people that there was a thing going around not too long ago that says, like, how will he be remembered? And I said exactly, as a transformational or transformative prime minister who, number one, stood up to China when they tried to impose law here.
Yeah.
Right. And number two, got us out of the worst health and economic crisis of the last century while managing the mythical soft landing. Right.
Yeah.
None of that is untrue. And I could have added the reconciliation piece, of course. And then there was all the other stuff, of course, that there's a long list. And everybody was getting mad. And I'm thinking, it's like, why are you getting mad? The reason you're mad is that you thought he was transformational too. It just didn't go in the direction that you wanted. If you are so mad at even seeing a picture of him, like months now after he's been gone.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're still breaking out into hives, then why are you fighting me on whether or not he was transformational? Clearly, you believe it too.
That way, right? Since we're still up in arms.
He destroyed Canada. That would be a transformation. If you believe Canada was perfect before he came along and now it's all ruined. It's like, stop being angry for the sake of being angry.
Want things back to the way they were under Stephen Harper. What, when your taxes were higher and your services were cut to ribbons? That's what you want?
Yes. And you had to front all the money for the little bit that you got back, since you got back for childcare, and the sports programs and the arts programs and all that kind of stuff.
Out of your pocket for dental care and
yeah, sure.
Yeah, the good old days.
The good old days. Oh my God! All right, back to this.
I'm gonna grab coffee. Be right back.
Okay. Another perspective, this one I think appeared. Um, I actually don't know where I picked this one. This one might have been CTV as well. This is Chief of the Fort McKay First Nation in Northern Alberta, Raymond Powder, who says, National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, the hard work of doing the right thing. On September 30th, people across the country will recognize National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. It will be the fourth year since the Parliament of Canada made the date a federal statutory holiday, permanently dedicating a full day to reflecting, remembering, and learning. Beyond using the day to confront the past, it's also an annual opportunity to take stock of our collective progress on reconciliation. What have we accomplished? From Indigenous peoples to community leaders, from company executives to everyday Canadians, to help advance the cause of reconciliation. I think about this often. In my role as the chief of the Fort McKay First Nation, it's my job to advocate for my members' best interests, and I'm often called to talk about reconciliation. Whenever it's raised, I stress the same 2 points. First, reflection is critical. Looking back at the stories of mistreatment and abuse at residential schools, at the deliberate but failed attempt to erase culture, language, and history, is a painful thing to do. It's also a necessary step to restore the respect and dignity that former students always deserved, to recognize wrongs that went unacknowledged for too long, and to understand the repercussions that injustice is still having today. That reflection is difficult. For those already making that effort, that reality makes my second point hard to hear. Reflection isn't enough. Put simply, we must also do the work, take tangible steps so that Indigenous peoples have the tools to overcome the impact of the past, create better lives for themselves, and build brighter futures for their children. Economic reconciliation is a key marker of that progress. Today, are Indigenous peoples able to achieve the same prosperity that, for generations, so many others across Canada have been able to create for themselves? So far, the answer is no. I have faith that any human being who hears a former residential school student tell their story would support the moral reasons for working towards reconciliation. But this past year, events beyond Canada's borders have added a new dimension. They've underlined the practical reasons for prioritizing it. Starting 9 months ago, the trade threats from the US turned all our assumptions about the economy upside down, put everyone's financial security into question, and cast a shadow over the future prosperity of Canada and its residents. Political leaders from coast to coast to coast recognized the turning point and have been working to chart a new path, knocking down trade barriers at home, finding new partners for Canadian resources and goods, and figuring out how to route them to new customers around the world. It's an enormous effort that will require massive new infrastructure, much of which will cross Indigenous lands. For leaders, the future we're responsible for building for our communities hangs in the balance. And truthfully, Canada can only succeed if Indigenous peoples succeed. There are some encouraging signals for all of us. Provincial and federal leaders across party lines have collaborated in common cause, highlighted the need to work with Indigenous peoples, and made gestures of goodwill to one another. The federal Indigenous Loan Guarantee Program, a tool that Indigenous leaders had long called for and which will help First Nations have a financial investment in many of these new major projects, was doubled. But even as we all recognize the threat in front of us and of the importance of getting the solution right under serious pressure, our path out of the turmoil isn't certain. In late July, I flew to Ottawa to join fellow chiefs at the Prime Minister's First Nations Summit. At the meeting, I shared my members' priorities with with a full room, forged new relationships, and had promising conversations with government leaders. I left feeling encouraged, but cautious. The reaction from other chiefs was mixed. In his opening remarks that day, even Prime Minister Carney himself acknowledged the gap in trust between Indigenous peoples and the Government of Canada. In the spirit of the day, we need to be truthful. Closing the trust gap between Indigenous peoples and government will be a big job. To make progress, there needs to be a shared commitment to not only confront the immediate economic problems, but to address Indigenous priorities that have been outstanding for too long. Addressing those lingering Indigenous concerns is critical. Leaving them unresolved is why trust in government eroded to where it is today. There will be no shortcuts. The work will be difficult, and it's Ottawa and First Nations leaders who must work together to get it done. But everyone can play a role in encouraging progress. So, to mark September 30th this year, I am asking everyone across Canada, what one action will you take this year to advance reconciliation? Reflection is important, but it must be accompanied by action, and there's no time more important to make progress on it than right now. All of our futures depend on it. So, kids and cubs, what one action will you take this year to advance reconciliation? If you got one in mind, put it in the chat. We'll try to read it in the show. You have any thoughts on what the chief had said?
Not really. I just trying to absorb some of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot to take in. Where do we go from here? It's a good question. How do we get there? I'm not one to say. I'm really not. It's not. Uh, I'm just a dumb old white guy trying to make my way through the world. So I don't even feel I'm qualified to make any commentary on that. To be honest with you, I think it's time for me to listen and learn.
That's well said.
Just listen and learn, because if somebody asks for a comment, sure, but I think it's imperative that I just sit back, listen, and learn, because I don't really have much else to say.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I can respect that. All right. What I liked about this piece is because he's talking about his own perspective in terms of particularly going to that meeting, and how he emerged from it, some cautious optimism, but also sensing, that there was mixed reaction. So, he's he's presenting his point of view, but he's also within the article itself, in a very elegant way, stating, like this is, but this is only how I experienced it like this. And if I'm speaking for myself, this is what I'm saying. But if I'm speaking of the broader community, um, you know, my perspective isn't necessarily the only one. It may not even be the dominant one in this case. So that's sort of embedded into the article, was really good. And I also like the fact that, even though, um, you know, being very real in that it is a time for reflection, but even for those of us, who are of a good heart and of good faith, our reflection is not enough. There's more. So, just giving the gentle nudge. It's like, you can do more. You can take a step as well. There are things that you can do. Sit down. Don't only reflect on the situation, but reflect on what what part you can play in making things better. Um, you know, uh, in the case of this, this show, our platform is always open to members of the Indigenous community who would like to come on. We've reached out. Some people have said yes. Some people have said no. Again, could be a trust thing. Could just also be, we're not established. Could also be just so many demands on their time from so many outlets, who wanted to talk. Um, but the platform is always open.
Mhm.
Like I said, we are, and if there's any opportunity whatsoever to collaborate on anything, we would certainly, be a more than willing participant. So, that's some of the things that we do. We try to bring messages. We don't have an Indigenous guest today, but we are trying to bring perspectives from the chief and, from Mamakwa. And, at least so that we can bring perspectives that are not just our own or just us thinking in our room and then coming up on a show. Um, when we try to have as a policy, if there's some particular news with regard to the Indigenous community, to make sure that we go to APTN first.
Mm-hmm.
That type of stuff. So there are moves, that we do here that consciously on the show, but there's always more. There's always more that can be done, and we are definitely open to suggestion if we have members of the community who do follow our show and would like to suggest some. As Mr. Grizzly says, clearly we're talking today because we have to do a show, but we're here to listen and learn as well.
Mm.
It's hard for me to say. It's like we're not here to talk.
We're here to listen.
Because I'm running my mouth.
Well, listen and learn. But what do I have to add to the conversation? Nothing. I really don't,
Exactly.
and that's the truth. That's why it's time for me to just sit quietly in the back and listen and speak when called upon to speak. When it comes to matters of this nature, I'm not qualified to talk about it. I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
By virtue of the fact that I'm a white male, number one, and number two, I have no direct experience with this.
Yeah, indeed. And like I said, neither do I. No direct experience. Like I said, I had the good fortune once or twice over the course of my career to actually work with Indigenous communities, and even had a chance, I think, for a very short time. I think it was 3 or 4 months when I was working at Health Canada. I had been assigned to a file where I was working on capacity building within Indigenous communities to deliver programs and services to help people living with HIV and AIDS, or to prevent the spread of HIV and AIDS within communities. And I learned a lot during that short period of time.
Mhm.
That's as close to any community experience I can say that I have had. So again, very limited, very, very, very limited. Mr. Grizzly, do you? I sent you a little something clip.
I'm just going to bring that up here.
Yeah, this is the thing about the T-shirts, and this is also from CTV.
Yeah, that was my son's one from my daughter too. When the teachers and staff read what was on the back of her shirt, they realized that these children are in the schools, that there are many that are in plain sight.
Jennifer May has been designing orange shirts for the past 4 years.
I wanted to create a dialogue within the families around me.
She donates some shirts and sells others to cover her costs. And she often has help at home.
Did get some help from my children, and I could see it in their eyes that this meant a lot to them too.
The orange shirt itself comes from Phyllis Webstad, whose new orange shirt was taken away on her first day at a residential school in the 1970s. That shirt became a symbol of the children who never came back home, and of the survivors who still carry the memories. But these days, orange shirts aren't only found in the homes of small Indigenous designers. They're also stacked on racks in major retailers, from Walmart to big-name online shops. For some, that raises questions.
And I'm like, what's an organization like this doing, profiting off of the death of our First Nations people?
But the Orange Shirt Society says partnerships with big chains help spread the message.
It's about getting that word and spreading the word of Orange Shirt Society to everybody that may not know what the Orange Shirt Society and the story of Orange Shirt means.
They say proceeds from official partnerships support charities and programs for survivors and their families.
We are here to teach. We are here to open up these avenues. It was not heard of for so long, but now we're able to talk about it and share.
So whether it's a stitch in a home office or sold in a department store, the meaning behind the orange shirt should be about remembering, educating, and moving towards reconciliation.
Do you think you're going to make more?
Oh, I probably will make them until I can't.
So the one comment there I thought was interesting, and I, the double-edged sword of this big American conglomerate corporation is profiting off of us, and then the next gentleman says, "Agreed," but these partnerships help spread the word. So that's the complication. Sometimes you have to work with the network that's available to you, and that's a damn big network, so it will help spread the word. But they're profiting off of it, so it's like, it's a yin and yang thing.
Yep,
Literally.
we have the same thing with Pride.
Yeah.
Right? People, Pride is too corporate. It's too corporate. There's that, and now we saw that recently with the pressure from the United States, people like pulling away their sponsorships. It's like, we're going to remember you in a few years when you want to come crawling back. You didn't stand with us when the going got a little tough. But there was a time, especially around the time of the HIV/AIDS crisis, when it was really bad, where all of a sudden it became visibility at any and at all cost. It's like you need to see that we're everywhere because we're dying here.
This is the thing. It's a double-edged sword. Sometimes you got to use what's available to you, and you might not like how the message gets put out there, but you got to get the message out there. So yeah, sometimes it's tough to swallow. It's a jagged little pill.
Ooh. Nice. Well played. I like that. All right. What else? The last little thing I had with regard to this is, of course, the federal government, because they will be, like I said, there will be the ceremony today. As well. But what it is that they are doing today and what it is that they are saying today specifically. So I'm just trying to look here, see if there's anything. I don't think the statement has been issued yet. So it's probably, I was just taking a look to see on the Prime Minister's Twitter feed yet whether or not the statement for the day had been issued. It's probably will come out probably at the start of the workday, I would assume. we're a little early this morning, but sometimes they come out the night before as well, so that you have them first thing. So I was just going to take a look at that. I have one more video clip here for you, and I've just sent it to Mr. Grizzly. And it's of our Minister of Global Affairs, Anita Anand, who delivered a speech yesterday at the United States General Assembly, and I'll show you about the first 2 minutes and 12 seconds or so of it, how she opened it, because in there she did make mention on the eve of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation of the day at the UN General Assembly itself. Right. And I think Mr. Grizzly might need a second or more because I kind of surprised him with that one.
A little bit.
Yeah. I was hoping that as I was reading the statement, as I was reading the statement from the Prime Minister, that I would have time to slide it to him. Then the statement wasn't out yet, so I was like, I have to stretch.
Well, I clicked on the link and I'm like, what? I clicked on the wrong link, so I had to redo it. Yeah, so I opened up the previous link. So anyway, it was complicated, but here we go.
Federal institutions have helped to make our world safer and more prosperous. More than 1 billion people have been lifted out of extreme poverty. Famine and disease have declined. We see shared effort leading to shared prosperity.
However, today, the multilateral system is under threat. Some countries are turning more inward, looking at protectionism and unilateralism rather than multilateralism. Around the world, the geopolitical landscape is unstable. Those power is heading towards a way that is undermining, jeopardizing our security and prosperity. We are facing challenges that no country can address alone. Allow me to start with Canada itself, because the strength that we have abroad is based on resilience at home.
Proudly bilingual, resilient, dynamic democracy spanning 3 oceans, blessed with natural resources, and above all, defined by the ingenuity of our people. Our scientists are leaders in artificial intelligence and clean technology. Our workers are partnering in the global energy transition. Our entrepreneurs are advancing critical minerals, agriculture, and digital innovation. Canada is home to Indigenous peoples and to immigrants from every corner of the globe. Let me say a few words about Indigenous peoples on the eve of Canada's National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. The voices of Indigenous peoples enrich our democracy at home and diplomacy abroad. Their leadership
has laid the path.
There you go. So again, at the United Nations General Assembly, Canada bringing the message of truth and reconciliation there, and putting it right up front in the first 2 to 3 minutes of what was a 16-minute speech that I do recommend you take the time to listen to, because our Minister of Foreign Affairs or Global Affairs, depending on how we're calling it, really did us proud and delivered something that was, well, I mean, she has such poise and grace to start with.
Well, I mean, compare and contrast that to the orange-skinned man who rambled on for 60 minutes, 45 minutes past his allotted time, and just, I'm so great, I'm the best, I need the Nobel Prize because I did all these wonderful things, you guys suck. That was effectively what he said.
Me.
Ranted about it on Friday evening because I was like, it was just the most unhinged, bizarre thing I think I've ever seen at the UN.
Yeah.
I mean, 5 years ago, they laughed at him. This year, nobody was laughing because people were like, this guy's nuts.
Yeah.
This guy's a rocker. Like, anyway, I don't want to dwell on him.
Before we go to the next, before we go to the next set of stories that we're bringing you, of course, Pierre Poilièvre, what he decided to do for National Truth and Reconciliation Day, or for the eve of it, because Pierre Poilièvre, as you know, has a history of trying to preempt any day that brings attention to Indigenous people. If you recall, on the day that of the alleged apology that Stephen Harper presented, Pierre Poilièvre, before the apology, went to CFRA radio and made that now very infamous intervention about Indigenous people just needing to be taught a stronger work ethic, and complaining that Canadians weren't getting value for money for the tort settlements that were decided by the courts. And then on the day that the Pope came to Canada to deliver the apology for residential schools to Indigenous people on our soil, the day before that, or the day of, that's when Pierre officially launched his campaign to become Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Which is not a thing, as Mr. Grizzly keeps reminding us.
Not a thing.
But he decided to pull focus on that. Yesterday, this is how Pierre decided to pull focus. And remember, we are talking about the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, in particular when we're talking about Every Child Matters. In that context, we're talking about residential schools that were started by the what? The who?
The Catholic Church in the federal
Okay.
government.
So, yes. So, yesterday, Pierre Poilièvre, conservative leader Pierre Poilièvre said yesterday that Christians and their places of worship are being targeted. And if elected, he will crack down on religion-based hate through tougher sanctions for crimes like
From
arson.
JP Tasker, Poilievre claims Christians may be the #1 victims of hate-based violence.
Mhm.
Not even
Speaking
close
to
the truth.
reporters at an
Not even close to the
I
truth.
know, not even close. Speaking to reporters at an announcement on food inflation, Poilievre has said he's watched with alarm the terrible spate of church burnings incidents he describes as terrorist attacks directed at Christians. Quote, 100 churches have been burned, Poilievre said. Christians may be the #1 group that are victims of hate-based violence, but of course it's not politically correct to say that. Yes, the day before National Truth and Reconciliation, will somebody please think of the Christians? And, well, I guess it would be politically incorrect to say
Why
that.
doesn't he just go, me, me, what about me? What about me? Because that's all he's saying, effectively.
Yep. Again, what do Trump and Pierre have in common?
Self-centered narcissist pricks.
According to the most recent Statistics Canada data, the majority of hate crimes targeting a religion reported by police in 2023 were directed at Jews,
Yes.
70%,
Yes.
and Muslims, 16%. There were a total of 1,284 hate crimes targeting a religion that year, a sharp 67% increase from 2022, and a phenomenon largely driven by more police-reported incidents against Jewish, 900 hate crimes, and Muslim, 211 communities. And there's a graph here that I'm going to put up here in the article. And just again, to show how far off Pierre is. Now, number one, right, he said 100 churches. When people are delivering this type of rhetoric, always beware of nice, neat, round numbers. Odds are that's not an actual statistic. But if you're looking at it, Jewish, and whoop, as this is happening, right, it's going up. Muslims, definitely more than Catholic, I guess. And the only ones, others and religion not specified, are the only ones that are somewhat lower. And I think even other is higher. Yeah, other is higher than Catholic.
Yeah.
So out of the ones that are actually identified, it's like it's among the least targeted. So once again, Pierre is using the eve of a day that's supposed to be about someone else to try and bring sympathy to the group that is responsible historically for what it is that we are observing and commemorating today. Yes, and then tries to present them as the most persecuted, not just persecuted, because he could have said, there are terrible things happen, but the most. Statistics
10,880,360 people identify as Catholic in Canada. It is the largest Christian denomination in the country.
Yeah.
It's 29.9% of the Canadian population.
Yeah. Statistics Canada does show there was an uptick in hate crimes directed at Catholics in 2021, religion-based violence that came after the Tecumseh. I used to be able to pronounce this perfectly. Tecumseh
Don't even just.
Sequepit. Yeah, sorry. First Nations said preliminary findings from a radar survey of the grounds of the former Catholic-run Kamloops Indian Residential School indicated as many as 250 children could be buried on the site. There were 43 police reported crimes targeting Catholics in 2020, according to Statistics Canada. Data that figure jumped to 155 the year after. Since then, the number of crimes against Catholics has dropped. Still, there are other signs, and I'm not sure if those crimes against Catholics in those incidents would be counted the times where on certain buildings there were handprints in red paint, which would be a form of protest that, yes, does involve defacing somewhat a building, but nobody was threatened, and it's not particularly a hate crime.
Well, I have the video clip. I have the video clip here, and it's just
Okay.
well, just have a look at this.
This past week, we saw a church burning in Canada, a tragic incident at a church in Michigan, and over 100 incidents of church burning or vandalism since 2021 in Canada.
Yes.
What do you make of the sectarian strife seen targeting towards Christians? Do you think the government's doing enough to combat this, and what would you do?
I think it's terrible. No, the government is not doing enough, and I would do a lot more. So let's recap where we are. 100 churches have been burned. You hear almost nothing from the Liberal government about this. Christians may be the #1 group that is victims of hate-based violence. But of course, it's not politically correct to say that. 100 terrorist attacks against Canadian churches. This anti-Christian hate has got to stop. We've seen with this Liberal government is the number of things they've done to allow this. One, they've separated people into groups. Their ideology seeks to identity politics divides one group against another, and then we're surprised when that leads to violence.
He would
2,
know.
the Liberals have reduced.
The audacity.
This is the guy who couldn't congratulate Doug Ford for having won, nor Tim Houston, because they weren't conservative enough. The othering in the conservative circles is happening within the conservative movement itself, but he's talking about others being divisive when he can't get along with his own kin.
Pot, may I introduce you to Kettle?
Criminal penalties for arson. So people are not afraid to get caught burning things down anymore. And 3, they have failed to put law enforcement resources where they belong, which is to say going after criminals rather than targeting farmers, duck hunters, and professional sport shooters. So conservatives would take exactly the opposite approach. We would bring in mandatory prison sentences for extortionists. We would crack down on hate crime, which is more than doubled under the Liberals, with tougher laws that throw criminals in prison. We used to make sure that the foreign criminals that are in our country illegally are kicked out of Canada. And we would redirect resources away.
He's just
What does that have to do with? I mean, he's like he so doesn't even believe on his Catholics are the most persecuted that he couldn't even stick with that narrative for the whole response. Now he's on to like guns and shooters and jail not bail and
yeah, I know.
From banning duck hunters, farmers, and sports shooters towards more police and border services that will keep all Canadians safe. Because frankly, Canadians of all faiths, including Christians, deserve to worship in peace.
Okay, the end part was good.
Yeah.
But everything that the last line is yes. The rest, what the fuck?
Like I said,
I cannot believe this party sees. I cannot believe that anybody in this party sees that he can be the future. I'm sorry, but oh my God, these are things from like. These are the same damn things they've been saying for 2 damn decades. There's no evolution in the position. There's nothing new. There's nothing fresh. And he's literally just taking little bits of all of his stump speeches and stringing them together, whether it has anything to do with what was asked or not. And okay, this clearly was prompted by a question, but I would love to know from which outlet that particular journalist came from, because that seems to be a really weird question to be asking at a press conference about something having to do with food inflation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it seems like a question that Pierre would have wanted to be asked.
Well, I think
might have been planted.
His podium had a sign on it that said "Stop taxing the groceries."
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, if we have time, we'll get to that, because there was a great interview on Power and Politics with someone that basically debunked everything Pierre had to say is saying about that. But we'll finish our truth and reconciliation stuff, because that is the important thing today. But just to make it clear, though, kids and cubs, again, Pierre trying to pull focus in every single way he can. Because heaven forbid we should have a day where we talk about Indigenous people and put them up front. He really seems to not being able to like that.
Well, he sees people who look like you and I under threat because I'm so persecuted as a cis het white male. Come on, man. I sit atop the white privilege pyramid. I know this. If he doesn't know this, then he's dumber than I thought he was. I just...
there can be no way he doesn't know it.
Yeah,
it's
he just likes to play to his
goddamn act.
It's a fear-mongering thing that he plays to his populist base so that they think they're being persecuted, when that's really not the case. Because I can walk anywhere in this country and do anything I want, and nobody is going to stop me. Nobody's going to threaten me. Nobody's going to tell me to go home or to go back where I came from. Like, this fucking guy.
I'm right with you on that one.
Coffee. I'll be right back.
I know. All right. As Mr. Grizzly goes and grabs that cup of coffee, also published yesterday in CTV by David Prisiak and Hallie Mandrick. This is a very important decision in Saskatchewan. But Saskatchewan has reached an agreement in principle to compensate the former students of the Ile à la Crosse boarding school. Premier Scott Moe traveled to the community located 460 kilometers north of Saskatoon to make the announcement on Monday. Quote, on behalf of the province of Saskatchewan, I offer a sincere apology to the survivors and their families, Moe said in a news release. Moe called the whole colonial system of residential day schools and industrial schools a, quote, shameful mark on Canada's history with harmful intergenerational impacts on Indigenous and Métis people. Simply put, these schools were a mistake and they shouldn't have existed, Moe said. Saskatchewan is at its best when we are working together with Métis and First Nations to make our province a place that everyone is proud to call home and where we all have equal opportunity to prosper and live in safe, healthy communities. The Ile à la Crosse school and student dormitory existed in various capacities from around 1860 until the 1970s, when the operation was assumed by the Ile à la Crosse School Division. The school was originally established by the missionary Oblates of Mary Immaculate, a missionary congregation of the Roman Catholic Church. Survivors who attended the school shared their stories at a gathering in Ile à la Crosse Monday, tracing a line from the abuse many experienced at the school to the issues still faced by the community. Quote, we would watch my mom and dad go across the lake, and it was so lonely being left behind as a child, one survivor, Melvina Aubichon, told the room. The second day we got there, they cut our hair. My hair was up to my knees. Aubichon was 5 years old when she first attended the school. As another survivor, Louis Gardiner shared, the physical, verbal, and sexual abuse experienced by the Indigenous and Métis children was used as a means to, quote, take the culture out of the child. Quote, I couldn't use my name. I had a number given to me. And where do you see numbers today? In prison, Gardiner said. Under the agreement, the province will pay $40.2 million to provide restitution to former students of the Ile à la Crosse school and their families in an effort, quote, to promote reconciliation, healing, wellness, education, language, culture, and commemoration in the community of Ile à la Crosse, according to the release. The province expects the proposed settlement will be approved by the Court of King's Bench in early 2026. Quote, it is our sincere hope that this agreement provides closure to the former students of the Ile à la Crosse school and that it serves as a foundation for continued collaboration and success in the future, the Premier added. According to the province, the claims process will be administered by a third-party class actions administration firm approved by the court. Métis Nation Saskatchewan published a news release on Monday sharing its members' support of the agreement. Quote, it's a relief to reach this agreement in principle with Saskatchewan. It's been a very long battle, and we've lost a lot of survivors on the way here. Finally, we're close to having some closure for the remaining survivors of Ile à la Crosse school and recognition and compensation for all the harm that we experienced as children, Elder Margaret Aubichon said in a statement. Quote, I was taught at the Ile à la Crosse school that my heritage, language, and culture were shameful. I'm proud that I've worked hard to reclaim my Indigenous identity and that we've made our voices as survivors heard by these governments. This is an important step in our healing and in the process of reconciliation, Elder Émile Janvier added in the news release. Aubichot and Janvier are both members of the Ile à la Crosse Boarding School Steering Committee Incorporated, which represents 20 communities in northwest Saskatchewan. According to Métis Nation Saskatchewan, if the proposed settlements with the provincial and federal governments are approved by the court, it will mark an end to 2 decades of litigation. Buckley Belanger, a Secretary of State in Prime Minister Mark Carney's Liberal government, told the gathering he's pleased to see the file near completion. Quote, Métis and First Nations children were torn from their families and forced to attend this institution, said Belanger, who also had gone to the school. Quote, I hope today we are one more step forward in achieving a sense of closure in relation to this dark moment in our history that is still felt to this day. For survivors like Gardiner, it's a step forward, but he says he wants to see more accountability from the Catholic Church for its role. They need to be part of the healing process because they were the ones that delivered the program. We were taught you go to confession and you tell the truth. Now, it's their turn to go to confession, Gardiner said. So, props to Premier Scott Moe, not the source I would expect.
No,
For words like that.
Yeah, that's a big surprise. I would not have suspected he would be capable of, well, he probably didn't write it, but I didn't think he'd be capable of speaking those words.
And to be so unequivocal.
Like,
You got to give the props where they're due. We do this on that show, right?
Broken clock, right twice a day.
Guess, thank you, Premier Moe, for doing the right thing on that one.
Yeah.
We try to be fair.
we don't like it, but it's we got to props. He did
Props.
it. Good on him, you know.
Positive reinforcement. More of that, please.
Yeah. Well, it was like the other day when Ted Cruz said something that we all agreed with and went,
Yep.
Did you see
are you sure that was Ted Cruz?
Four Horsemen? Because it must be the apocalypse. He didn't get raptured, so it must be the apocalypse. Agreeing with Ted Cruz. But what he said I thought was interesting. He said,
yes.
If you don't shut this down now,
yes,
when they take power, they can use this against us.
Yes.
And he's right.
Yes, you always have to, again, be careful of the fate that you wish upon others, because that faith may be bestowed upon you.
Well, and you have to understand, it's not like the Republicans are going to be in power forever. Well, Trump may want to make it that way, but I mean, you know.
There was a time we could say that definitively.
Yeah, I'm not so sure we can anymore.
Jeez.
He did say, if you get me elected this time, you don't have to worry about voting ever again. What? I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, because if I follow that through to the natural logical conclusion, I don't like where that leads.
No.
Mr. Grizzly, I don't know if you saw it, but I had sent you one last article.
You did?
I believe.
Oh, no, I think I already read that one.
Oh.
Yeah, I did. Oh, did I read that one? Hang on, I got it here. Just a sec, I've got it. No, I have not read that one. Sorry, I do have it here, though. I do have the link,
Just a few more stories from survivors to bring to you today.
This is taken from me. Residential school survivors reflect on past. This is for the last decade. Geraldine Shingoose has been sharing her residential school stories with Manitoba students. On Monday, she was speaking to students at Westwood Collegiate in Winnipeg's West End. She says it's important for her as a survivor to share her story with the younger generation. I want them to know the impact it had on me as a child when I was going to a residential school. That was really hard, like being there. Shingoose, known to many as Grandma Shingoose, attended Muskowekwan Indian Residential School near Leastock, Saskatchewan from 1962 to 1971. She said her experience there was not a good one. We were not allowed to speak our language, so that was taken from me. They took me away from my family, my parents, and my community. Shingoose speaks at events, including at schools throughout the year, but says it gets really busy around this time. The federal government recognized September 30th as National Day for Truth and Reconciliation in June 2021, following the discovery of 215 unmarked graves at the grounds of a former residential school in Kamloops, BC. Shingu says September 30th is an extremely important day for her. It's a day where we acknowledge our truth, our stories, and our history about residential schools. It's a day to honor the families of residential school survivors and the communities. It's also a day to honor the little children that didn't make it home from residential school. However, Shingu says recognition for survivors like herself on National Day for Truth and Reconciliation should not just be limited to one day. Us survivors, we carry that every day, and to remember us every day, she said, that history is so important for Canada. Vivian Ketchum shares the same feeling as Shingu's, also a survivor. She attended the Cecilia Jeffrey Residential School just outside of Kenora, Ontario. She was 5 years old when she was taken from her family. The homesickness, that still haunts me today, the bad food and the lack of connection. My siblings were there. I remember they were on another floor. I couldn't connect with them either. It was just horrible. For Ketchum, this National Day for Truth and Reconciliation is a little more meaningful and emotional than previous years. Her eldest brother, who also attended the same residential school as a child, died a few days ago. She says she wants to honor him the best way she can. I want to walk for him this year. I want to walk for him, other survivors that didn't make it and the little ones that didn't make it home. I want their stories to be heard. But there is also another issue that is bothering Ketchum: denialism of residential schools. We have to fight a little harder this year, she said. Controversial speaker prompts university protests. Francis Widdowson, a former professor at Mount Royal University who was fired in 2021 after investigation into harassment claims, was at the University of Manitoba last Thursday to discuss her claims. The discovery of mass graves at a residential school was a hoax. That's her claim. The Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs condemned the event, saying it was outraged Widdowson was allowed to speak on campus. Allowing someone who denies the violence, deaths, and systemic abuse of our little ones in residential schools to speak at Manitoba's largest university is irresponsible and harmful, Grand Chief Kyra Wilson said in a news release. First Nations survivors and families continue to live with the trauma of these institutions. To deny these truths is an act of violence in itself. Ketchum herself was at the protest. It got ugly. I got hurt, and I'm going to keep fighting let me try that again. I got hurt, and I'm going to keep fighting to keep our stories out there and our memories alive, she said. Denialism is on the rise. Cindy Woodhouse-Nepanak said there is a lot more work to be done to address the misinformation being shared about residential schools. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission. I encourage all Canadians to look at those 94 calls to action on how far have we come. How do we grade ourselves this December, 10 years after the signing of that, she said. Woodhouse-Nepanak said she would like to see universities and colleges across the country mandate an Indigenous course for students. Making sure there's a First Nations course in every single university and college across this country, so when professionals are graduating, they remember and know the true history of what happened to First Nations people in this country. I think it's doable from coast to coast to coast. Ahead of the federal budget this fall, she is also calling for Indigenous basic services and programs to not be cut and is pushing for a one-time generational investment into language and culture. Let's make a better life for our kids. As Canadians mark National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, Shingu says she never wants the history of residential schools to disappear. There's not too many of us left. We're not going to be here anymore, she said. We're still here now, and to acknowledge and just take care of us, it means a lot to us. So yeah, pretty heavy duty.
Yeah. So, Kids and Cubs, we wanted to bring you perspectives, given that we didn't have a guest today that came from the community. So that's why we took several of these articles and brought them into the record for you today. Again, however you choose to observe the day, we leave that to you. Of course, if you want to share in the chat how it is that you are doing it, we are more than happy to hear about it. And but yeah, just again, take to heart the words, right? That it is a day for reflection, but that reflection isn't enough, and that if you can find a way somehow to take a step to bring about more reconciliation in somehow, no matter how small. Especially, I can understand that because I just saw a thing from McKitlinda here saying that she was wearing her red dress pin, and somebody, a cashier, had stated, thank you for raising awareness. And, it's like feeling good because, you're doing a little bit to help, but then feeling bad because it's literally the least you can do. But in a world where there's a lot of people that are not doing anything at all, not even working against, sometimes the least you can do, if everybody does it, it does add up. That doesn't mean we shouldn't push ourselves to do more, but it's like stating the obvious. Sometimes it needs to be stated. Sometimes the least you can do, actually doing it, helps, rather than saying, "Oh, well, it's the least I can do. It's not going to be any meaningful, so why bother?" Just do it. Do it. Because in that instance, at least that cashier knew that there was one person in her immediate community who was on her side. Right? It's a little signal, it's a little sign, but sometimes let me put it this way. Again, relating it back to personal experience as a young Gaeling, whenever there was anything I saw anywhere near in mass media that was a reflection of our community, it's like it could just be like a fleeting image. I would like latch onto that and hold on to that. It's like, and
Well, you
it
feel
was
like you're
everything.
recognized. You're being seen, right?
Right. Like it was everything. So I assume that's a feeling that can happen in other circumstances as
Well,
well.
I can relate to that from a different perspective, but it's still I can relate to it when I was a kid. If I would see Gordon Lightfoot or Anne Murray or somebody on American television, it was like, hey, a Canadian.
Right.
Like I'm just trying to say that I felt recognized and seen. Not that I was persecuted or anything of that nature, but that's the way I can relate to it.
Yep, same thing whenever I'm especially like in my younger days when music wasn't crossing the borders as easily as it does because of internet and stuff, and you'd be like, yeah. I remember being in Florida and hearing Serena Ryder stomp. And I'm thinking, it's like, they're playing Serena Ryder in the United States? She got a U.S. distribution contract? When did that happen? I never heard of that. And I'm like in the grocery aisle. Gotta get up. Like
When I'm
bobbing my
abroad,
head. It's just a little piece of home.
when I'm traveling abroad and I'm out somewhere and I hear Shania Twain or Alanis Morissette, or it's like, hey, they're Canadian, like me.
Yeah.
First thing I say, hey, that's a Canadian. They're Canadian, really? Yes, they're Canadian. Yes, they are. I know. They're from where I'm from. Alanis Morissette, especially so. She went to school just a few blocks away.
Yep. Indeed. All right, kits and cubs. Mr. Grizzly, since we have you, is there anything you want to bring up today?
A couple of quick things, but I'm just seeing something from our friend James here in the chat. It says Keg's breath. Pete Keg's breath instead of Hegseth. I mean, that is kind of funny. We shouldn't make fun of alcoholism, but that one's pretty funny. Shouldn't make fun of alcoholism.
I know, but I'm only a beaver and I'm petty.
That was funny. I got to give him that one. I do want to share something with you from our. This is from an Alberta Next panel. I don't know if you've seen this, but just you got to watch this because I'm not going to give you any setup.
Okay.
This was on the 29th, I believe it was, of September. Just watch this. This is something else.
Hi, my name is Evan Lee. I'm a Calgary high school student. Like many high school students, I'm very concerned about what's going to happen to the upcoming Alberta teachers strike, which just an hour ago, they voted 89.5 in favor of striking.
Evan?
And my question is, why is the government handing out
They cut him off?
Yep. Oh, it gets better.
Here's the thing, Evan. Evan, I applaud you coming here to speak. I don't applaud how you're trying to speak. It's not making any sense. So we're going to move along, okay? let's go over to this microphone, okay? I know you'd love some chaos, but your parents should turn you over your knee. Let's go over here.
What?
That's rude.
Yeah.
That's rude. No. Rude.
Go ahead.
That is disgraceful.
Yeah. So let me see if I get this correct. A teenager who was advocating on their behalf for their education wanted to ask a question that he didn't like. So he cut him off and then said, your parents should have spanked you. That, my friends, is the definition of an asshole. That's just something else. That was on the 20th, so that was yesterday. That was last night in Alberta. Yeah, it's wow. That was Bruce McAllister.
I am.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
I mean,
that's something else.
Where's the gate in his brain when the idea sparked in it and saying somebody should have spanked you, that didn't say, you know what, this is something I might think, but I probably should not say?
Yeah, he doesn't have that filter, apparently.
I mean, you probably shouldn't think that as well. But if you think these types of things, you do realize that you're in a public forum with a whole bunch of people, many of whom are parents, and you are being recorded.
Yeah. One of the comments said, this is what UCP thinks of the young people of this province. Zero respect for a student. His voice is dripping with disdain, and he doesn't want to listen at all. The student is concerned about his education. Alberta teachers are standing up for that. UCP is not.
Unbelievable.
That's like, I'm like, that's a real thing. It really happened.
And it's really funny because I didn't bring it up on the thing because I thought it was just like such a dumb thing. But in the House of Commons just the other day, I think it was, somebody was reading into the record a letter or something that had been sent by a 7th grader.
Mm-hmm.
I think it had to do, somebody in the chat will be able to tell me specifically what it was. For some reason, I think it has to do with the school food program, but I could be wrong about that. And the Conservative benches and Pierre on the other side were heckling it.
Of course they
while it was happening. And I'm sitting there, it's like I understand heckling,
Mm-hmm.
There it is. I got it wasn't a, here we go. We got the clip here. Hold on. I'll put it up here for you. I get heckling when it's the leader of the other party. Now, I don't like excessive heckling, and a lot of us don't.
Mm-hmm.
But I get that. But if someone is out there and saying, okay, like, this is a constituent, and the constituent is a 7th grader,
mm-hmm.
The little gate in my brain would click in and say, you know what? This is being recorded and it's on video. This might not be a good time for me to be making an ass of myself.
Well,
but all right, let's. But conservatives like to hold themselves to another standard. So let's see the standard that they hold themselves up to.
Food program is feeding bureaucracy and not kids. This finance minister made a grand show, said he was going to haul in all the grocery store CEOs and tell them what was on his mind and say, hey buddy, you better lower the grocery prices or else. Then he doubled the deficit, making inflation go up, making food prices soar, and sending 2 million Canadians into a food bank. Why doesn't this finance minister haul in the real inflation culprit, the guy that sits beside him, the so-called budget expert, tell him to stop ballooning the deficit so food prices can actually come down?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Family.
Well,
Mr. Speaker, if they won't believe us, maybe they will believe an actual kid. A grade 7 kid actually said this: an investment in healthy school food is a good idea because the healthier the kids, the healthier the society. School food matters to me.
Please, colleagues. I would like to hear what that 12-year-old had to say as well. So from the top, please.
Speaker, when a grade 7...
Please. Colleagues. A moment, Minister. I can't hear you.
Wow.
We're going to start from the top on that, so go ahead, please.
Well, Mr. Speaker, let's start with the voice of a child, advocating for other children in this country. This is what this grade 7 Canadian young person said: an investment in healthy school food is a good idea because the healthier the kids, the healthier the society. School food matters to me because kids should be healthy. And you know what, Mr. Speaker, I'm so proud of that empathetic grade 7 student who knows that young people in school deserve the best chance at success. It's more than I can say for these conservatives who are actually laughing at the compassion of children in our country.
Unbelievable behavior.
The honourable member for Brandon.
Unbelievable behavior, but I can easily believe it because, remember who we're dealing with here.
I am... See, I didn't even click on it when I saw it because I was like, yeah, of course, Pierre.
Yeah.
But now that I've seen it, oh my God. They had to stop.
Yeah.
And restart. And at the exact same part,
they started heckling again. The words of a 12-year-old child. What the fuck is wrong with you people?
And then you show me the thing of the moderator of the next panel says that you need to be spanked for daring to ask a question about labor relations.
This is who they care not about children.
Well, no, I keep on saying it. Conservatives hate your kids.
They do. Clearly. They voted against a school food program. They voted against $10 a day daycare.
Doug Ford won't fund programs for autistic children.
They hate your kids until they're old enough to vote. Then they like them.
Girls have to
sign
a
adults,
form.
Right?
Yeah, girls have to sign a form in Alberta to say I am a girl if they want to play sports.
Yeah. Speaking of girls, I'm going to share this. This image was just sent to me by somebody who. Well, I'll just put it on the screen and then explain it. So the White House, the new White House ballroom that's being built in place of the Rose Garden, big sign above the new ballroom that says "Ballroom, girls 13 and under get in for free."
Oh my God!
The thing is that there's so much truth to that. Evidenced by the fact that we still have not seen the Epstein files. Yeah. Crazy, right?
Wow.
I mean, it's not real. It's an AI image, of course.
No, clearly. But the image speaks a million words.
Well, it does, because remember, they don't care about your children because they will not release the Epstein files. And I somebody the other day said, well, apparently Bill Clinton's in there. I'm like, okay, and lock him up. We're like, but he's one of yours. He's not one of mine. If he did something like that, he deserves to be punished.
Yeah, it's like, see, he's one of yours. It's like, no, because if it's pedophilia, pedophilia.
Not one of mine.
None of them are ours.
Yeah. None of them.
We don't claim them.
No.
Just like we don't claim Melissa Lanceman in the rainbow community because she keeps on working against us.
Yeah,
She can
constantly.
say she's a lesbian all she wants, but we don't see her.
So, like that Nazi Stephen Miller, who's Jewish, but he's clearly a Nazi. Clearly a Nazi. And he's Jewish.
There's Freud would have a field day with that.
Mm-hmm. I do have to jump because I have a very impatient puppy dog who's going like, Daddy. It's not a Saturday. She got up very early because she couldn't understand why I wasn't up at 4:00 to take her out. So now she's sitting here at my feet and panting because she needs to go out. So I do have to go, folks. My apologies. I have to leave, but I poor girl's suffering, and I don't want my baby girl to suffer. So I'm going to take Lola out. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for having me. Glad to be back. Of course, I won't be here tomorrow, but I'll try and get some. I'll try and record some grizzly growls today because I have some time to get things done, and I'll send them to Mr. Beaver, who will post them at his leisure. Until I see you folks again, which I won't be able to do anything this Friday because it's my friend's 65th birthday, and we're going out for steak dinner. So,
oh, good.
Yeah, I won't be able to do anything this Friday, but maybe I can record something in advance. Anyway, I will take my leave, and I will see you all very, very, very soon.
My friend, if you're taking requests for a grizzly growl, I would love to hear if you have any thoughts about either the NDP leadership race or where you think the NDP needs to go.
I'll definitely put something together.
And when we have a chance to, because today was Truth and Reconciliation, so I didn't want to do that. But when we have a chance to speak again on the show, I want to know your thoughts about the changes to the CFL rules.
Oh, I'm not happy.
I could imagine. I wasn't happy either, and I don't know that much about the sport, but I'm thinking, what the fuck?
Let me put it to you this way. If these rules go ahead, you've lost me. You've lost me because it's no longer the Canadian game if they do this.
Right?
Look, the Rouge, I can live with that one. They're changing the rules around the Rouge. I agree with that one.
Okay.
That's it. We're going to move the goalpost and shrink the field. No. We're going to keep everything else. No, you're trying to turn this into the NFL. No, thank you. Got to go, folks.
All right.
See you later.
Bye. There we go. I knew you would have a strong opinion on that one. All right, kids and cubs. Well, there you go. So we had some grizzly time this morning, which always makes me very, very happy. And I'm hoping that even though it was a more thoughtful day, that you did enjoy having Mr. Grizzly on for the show. All right. And I'm seeing in the chat here lots of things here. Kids and Cubs, you are doing absolutely amazing here. I have here from Kit Frankie talking about Pierre's intervention. Pierre doesn't need a reason to flip any situation and undermine or use as a cudgel for his disgusting comments. That is true. Wanted to, while I'm thinking of it, issue a gentle correction on myself. That story clip that we showed you about the T-shirts wasn't from CTV. It was from CBC. That was my mistake. I am sorry for that. And the member of the Conservative Party that you heard speaking in that clip, where the Conservatives heckled the words of a seventh grader, is Jasraj Singh Halan, who represents the riding of Calgary East, and sits on the benches for the Conservative Party of Canada. We have Kit Jen here saying here, these stories hurt my heart. We listen and hear their voices. Yeah, indeed we do. Kit Carol, Ontario Family Responsibilities Office going after all Indigenous who received a settlement and owes support. Seems a little targeted. I did not come across that story. Nona Carol, thank you for bringing us that information. I've got Kit Sharon here saying, there was an Indigenous man who read a poem when the Pope was here to apologize. I cried all day thinking of that poor man and all the pain and suffering our first people has endured. Yes, I remember we actually had presented the poem on the show that year. And oh God, I wish I could remember the title of it because yes, it was extremely past. I think it was "I Hate You, Residential Schools" was the poem. Yes, by Dennis Saddleman, and yeah, it was very extremely powerful poem, and I have a link to him here saying it because CBC News had aired it. So here it is. I'm going to put it on the chat for you kits and cubs. Thank you for mentioning it to Kit Sharon. Yeah, that was a very powerful poem. Let's see, what else do we have here in the chat? We have Kit Saucy here saying it's taken far too long for Canada to make amends for what they have done and allowed the churches to do. Kit Saucy also saying Scott Moe is making sure he's on Carney's good side. And I've noticed that too, actually, Kit Saucy, now that you mention it, on many things, particularly with the since his trip to China and all that kind of stuff. And I was wondering where this little bit of daylight between him and Danielle Smith is coming from. And I was doing a little research, and it seems that, well, while agriculture, we dissociate the cowboy thing with Alberta, right? Because of the stampede, and but agriculture is way greater part of the is a greater percentage of the Saskatchewan economy than it is the Albertan one. Oil is so big and dominant in Alberta, but in Saskatchewan, it truly is agriculture. And when we're talking about the tariffs from China on beef and pork, seafood doesn't affect Saskatchewan as much, but canola oil, canola meal, and things like pulses and stuff of the like. All of a sudden, that Saskatchewan is probably the hardest hit with regard to what is going on. So I can see where there would be some daylight emerging between Danielle Smith and Scott Moe, just because said the differences in the provincial economies make it such that he really needs relations between Canada and China to smooth over much more than Danielle Smith does. Yeah, um, he maybe feels he has less of a luxury to poke the prime minister in the eye repeatedly, unlike Danielle Smith, who tried again to burnish her identity as someone who has no identity unless she is fighting Ottawa by trying to introduce some type of law that gives the province the power to not respect any international treaties that Canada would sign on to, um, which is not a thing and not constitutional, would never stand up to a court challenge. And this is merely action for the sake of action and a PR stunt. But still a very disturbing move where provinces are saying, well, yes, we are part of Canada, but if Canada signs on to a treaty that has some clauses that we don't like, we as a province reserve the right to opt out. No, that you don't have that. There is no provincial right to that. Danielle Smith. So yeah, again, just tons of weirdness. Oh my God, could uncover the news. Breaking: South Africa's ambassador to France found dead in Paris. Wow. Let's take a look at that since it is breaking news. Let's see if there's any suspicion of foul play. Ooh, okay. Interesting. According to Reuters, South Africa's ambassador to France has screen. Stop jumping, please. There is this big thing that's appearing in there we go. That was really weird. South Africa's ambassador to France has been found dead at the foot of the Hyatt Regency Hotel, a high-rise tower in Porte-Maillot in the west of Paris. Newspaper Le Parisien and Le Figaro reported on Tuesday. A spokesperson for Paris police declined to comment. Calls to the South African embassy went unanswered. A receptionist at the Hyatt said the hotel would not comment. The embassy's website said Ambassador Nkosinathi Emmanuel Nathi Mthethwa was South Africa's Minister of Arts and Culture from 2014 to 2019, adding sports to his portfolio from 2019 to 2023. The ambassador had been reported missing by his wife after she received a text message from him that worried her, Le Parisien reported. A spokesperson at South Africa's Foreign Affairs Department said they were aware of unfortunate reports pertaining to Ambassador Nathi Mthethwa and would issue a statement once there was official information. That's all we got from Thomson's Reuters. Let's see here if from the Telegraph, this is Kieran Kelly. Let's see if we can get a better look at that. Let's take a little, nope. We can't have access to that article, unfortunately. But this one seems to indicate that he fell to his death from his Paris hotel room. Again, there's not enough news here that seems to indicate whether foul play is yet suspected. Let's take a look at here, seeing this is express.uk. Says here the ambassador reportedly took his own life by jumping from the 22nd floor. French media outlet 20 minutes reported. Again, police have launched an investigation into the incident. He was assigned to the French embassy in February 2024, represented the African National Congress and the National Assembly of South Africa between 2002 and 2023. But yeah, I guess that's about all the information that is available at the moment on it. But yeah, some very interesting breaking news there. And yeah, another bit of international news, since we're talking about international stuff all of a sudden. There were elections in Moldova. Moldova is a tiny nation just off the side of that I believe does border on Russia, and a much desired target by Vladimir Putin for another nation that he would like to just walk into and take control of. Also, the poorest nation in the EU. But in Chisinau, Moldova, Moldovans, Chisinau, I believe, is the capital. Moldovans gave the country's pro-Western governing party a clear parliamentary majority in a weekend election, defeating pro-Russian groups in a vote widely viewed as a stark choice between East and West. European leaders Monday hailed Moldovans for reaffirming their commitment to a Western path and future membership in the European Union in the face of alleged Russian interference. The country is small in size and population, but with outsized geopolitical importance. Quote, "You made your choice clear. Europe, democracy, freedom," European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said in a post on X. Quote, "No attempt to sow fear or division could break your resolve." Landlocked between war-torn Ukraine and EU and NATO member Romania, Moldova was a Soviet republic until it proclaimed independence in 1991. In recent years, it has taken a clear westward path, turning the country into a geopolitical battleground between Russia and Europe. So yes, my mistake is not bordering Russia, but bordering Ukraine. The outcome of Sunday's high-stakes ballots was noteworthy, considering Moldovan authorities' repeated claims that Russia was conducting a vast, quote, hybrid war to try to sway the outcome. Moldova applied to join the EU in 2022 in the wake of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine and was granted candidate status that year. Brussels agreed to open accession negotiations last year. With nearly all polling stations' reports counted on Monday, electoral data shows the pro-EU Party of Action and Solidarity, or PAS, securing 50.1% of the vote, so a clear majority, while the pro-Russian Patriotic Electoral Bloc won 24.2%. The Russia-friendly Alternativa bloc came third, following by the populist R Party. The right-wing Democracy at Home party also won enough votes to enter parliament. Electoral data indicates the PAS will hold a clear majority of about 55 of the 101 seats in the legislature. At the PAS campaign headquarters on Monday morning in the capital Chisinau, party leader Igor Grosu described the election as another battle against, quote, enemies of our country that once seemed impossible to defeat, saying the race was a, quote, final battle for the future. Quote, it was not only PAS that won these elections, it was the people who won, he said. The Russian Federation threw into battle everything it had that was most vile. Mountains of money, mountains of lies, mountains of illegalities. It used criminals to try to turn our entire country into a haven for crime. It filled everything with hatred. At the annual meeting of the world leaders at the UN General Assembly in New York, Moldova's UN ambassador, something appeared on the screen again to block things. I do not know why this keeps on happening, but it is. There we go. At the annual meeting of world leaders at the UN General Assembly in New York, Moldova's UN ambassador, Jorge Luca, told ministers and ambassadors Monday that, quote, despite unprecedented pressure, disinformation, and interference from the Kremlin, the Moldovan people defended democracy through free and fair elections. The people of Moldova made the choice, he said, but the meaning of the election is global and showed that, quote, democracy can't prevail even under relentless pressure. He also said democracies can't stand alone and need, quote, solidarity, resilience, and support. After a legislative election, Moldova's president nominates a prime minister, generally from the leading party or bloc, which can then try to form a new government. A proposed government then needs parliamentary approval. It is considered likely that President Maya Sandu, who founded the PAS in 2016, will opt for some continuity by once again nominating Prime Minister Dorin Răzăan, an economist who has steered Moldova's government through multiple crises since 2023. Răzăan also previously served as Sandu's defense and security advisor. Quote, the major task right now is to bring back the society together because what Russia achieved is to produce a lot of tension and division in society, Răzăan told supporters. Sandu said on Monday that the outcome proved Moldovans, quote, can unite when our country's future is at stake, but that the victory must benefit all citizens. Quote, Moldova is our common home, she said. We all share the same hopes to live in peace and freedom and to offer our children a safe future here at home. The surest path to those goals is the European path. Yesterday's vote is a strong mandate for Moldova's EU accession. The alleged Russian schemes included orchestrating a large-scale vote-buying scheme, conducting more than 1,000 cyber attacks on critical government infrastructure so far this year, a plan to incite riots around Sunday's election, and a sprawling disinformation campaign online to sway voters. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said he had spoken to Sandu on the phone and congratulated her on what he called, quote, a very important victory for Moldova. Russian subversion, constant disinformation, none of this worked, he said. Moscow had repeatedly denied meddling in Moldova, because Moscow always denies ever having done anything wrong, though. Election day was dogged by a string of incidents ranging from bomb threats at multiple polling stations abroad to cyber attacks on electoral and government infrastructure, voters photographing their ballots and some being illegally transported to polling stations. 3 people were also detained suspected of plotting to cause unrest after the vote. Igor Dodon, a former president and member of the pro-Russian Patriotic Electoral Bloc, called for a protest in front of the parliament building on Monday after alleging, without presenting any evidence, that the PAS meddled with the vote. PAS campaigned on a pledge to continue Moldova's path towards EU membership by signing an accession treaty to the 27-nation bloc by 2028, doubling incomes, modernizing infrastructure, and fighting corruption. Cristian Cantir, a Moldovan associate professor of international relations at Oakland University in Michigan, told the Associated Press that PAS's victory means it will be able to ensure the continuity in the next few years in the pursuit of their ultimate goal of EU integration. A PAS majority saves the party from having to form a coalition that would have most likely been unstable and would have slowed down the pace of reforms to join the EU, he said, but added, Moldova will continue to be in a difficult geopolitical environment characterized by Russia's attempts to pull it back into its sphere of influence. Some 1.6 million people, or about 52.1% of eligible voters, cast ballots according to the Central Election Commission, with 280,000 of them coming from votes in polling stations set up abroad. Quote, I see progress in our government in our evolution, how to be part of Europe, said 21-year-old student Nicita Prepelita. PAS said Moldova would integrate into the European Union in 2028. For me, it's a little bit hard to believe, but I hope it will be. Now people are really choosing between Europe and Russia, he added. The Kremlin on Monday said, quote, hundreds of thousands of Moldovans living in Russia were unable to vote in the election due to an alleged lack of polling stations set up in the country. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said it was obviously insufficient and couldn't give everyone the opportunity to vote without providing further details. And yeah, and also, since we're talking about that part of the world, if you remember in Romania, they had to cancel the results of the first turn of their runoff elections because the candidate that had won it, Călin Georgescu, had been disqualified post-vote. Well, it seems that it was a couple of weeks ago that, as was the case, all these movements seem to be the same. And you can see the patterns with Russia, right? Having a protest claiming that without any evidence that things were rigged, all this type of interference. Well, in Romania as well, there has been some consequences. Romanian far-right former presidential candidate Călin Georgescu has been charged with attempting to stage a coup after the first round of the presidential election was annulled last December. Horacio Potra, a former French legionnaire militia chief in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and 20 other people were also charged. The case rests on a planned raid on the Romanian capital Bucharest on 8th of December, which police foiled. Romanian prosecutors describe a plot targeting Romania's constitutional order involving Georgescu, Potra, their group, and alleged foreign intelligence links. This is according to the BBC. Potra and others have been charged with instigating the coup, while Georgescu is accused of conspiring with Potra. Prosecutors say Georgescu met Potra and other members of his group at a horse farm in December, soon after Georgescu's victory was annulled. Georgescu initially denied that the meeting took place, but later admitted it after photographs were published in Romanian media. However, he denies discussing plans to stage an insurrection. The meeting never took place. Oh, there's photos of me at the meeting? Well, we definitely weren't meeting in a meeting that I chose to deny because we were discussing plans to stage an insurrection. No, not at all. Yes, because if you were trading lasagna recipes, I'm sure you'd have a reason to deny that the meeting ever took place. Huh? In late February, police raided several locations in Romania, uncovering a cache of weapons, gold, and cash, with which it is alleged Potra's group were planning to stage a violent power grab. Prosecutors say Potra is currently not in the country and may seek asylum in Russia. May? Georgescu, 63, came as a surprise first in the first round of Romania's presidential elections last November. That result was annulled by the Constitutional Court just days before the second round was due to take place amid allegations of Russian interference. Romanian intelligence services suggested his presence and popularity on social media had been boosted by a mass influence operation conducted from abroad to interfere with the result of the vote. At a press conference, Prosecutor General Florenta described the annulled 2024 election as, quote, the result of a hybrid war orchestrated by Russia. He alleged that the cyber attacks on airports and public institutions coincided with an online disinformation campaign waged through troll farms, bots, and AI-generated content. Gee, all things that seem to have happened in Moldova just a couple of months later. I wonder if there's any link. After Georgescu was barred from registering as a candidate, his ally George Simeon, the leader of the far-right AUR party, stood in his place in the May rerun. Simeon won a dramatic first-round victory, but was eventually beaten into second place by Nicur Sordan, the liberal pro-EU mayor of Bucharest, in the runoff. Georgescu has not commented on the charges, although this month he accused the Romanian authorities of ruling through, quote, deceit, intrigue, and division. President Dan said, there's an irony considering he's been charged with a plot. President Dan said the report by prosecutors was, quote, proof that Russia had exercised, quote, systematic disinformation in Romania and had tried to influence the 2024 election. A date for Georgescu's trial has not yet been given, but could begin in early 2026. So yeah, democracy around the world. Yeah, interesting things happening to that, kids and cubs. Interesting things happening. And on that front, kids and cubs, I stumbled upon a very interesting statistic and fact yesterday that I couldn't quite believe when I heard it. And I decided, well, I need to go look this up to see if it is indeed true. And it turns out that it is. There's a group out there called VDEM. I believe they are based in Sweden. And this here is from a group called democracywithoutborders.org. So this is where I'm getting this. Amanda Name is the journalist here who wrote this piece. But the VDEM Institute, based at the University of Gothenburg, recently released its latest annual report, which analyzes the state of democracy in 179 countries over the past year. The report assesses democracy through 7 key principles: electoral, liberal, majoritarian, consensual, participatory, deliberative, and egalitarian. One of the most striking findings of the 2025 report is that the number of autocracies has risen from 88 to 91, 56 electoral and 35 closed autocracies, and thus surpassed the number of democracies, in which in turn has fallen from 91 to 88 countries, 29 liberal and 59 electoral democracies. The countries that contributed to the shift include Belarus, Gabon, Lebanon, and Niger, which transitioned from electoral autocracies to closed autocracies. The report observes that the third wave of autocratization, identified as concerning trend in previous reports, shows no signs of slowing down. According to the report, there are now 45 countries that are affected by autocratization, whereas only 19 are in episodes of democratization. Liberal democracies continue to be the rarest form of government in the world, with numbers falling back to 2009 levels, only 29 in total, of which Canada is one. Consequently, according to the report, the proportion of the world's population living in a liberal democracy is now the lowest it has been in 50 years. Less than 12% of people worldwide. In contrast, 72% of the global population, equivalent to 5.8 billion people, now live under autocratic rule. And that's the number that I saw. That it's like, really? There are more autocracies than there are democracies in the world now, and 72% of the world's population live in an autocracy? But yeah, it's true. Electoral democracies account for 17% of the world's population, with Brazil, Mexico, and Nigeria being the most prominent examples. There are 17 countries which are considered gray zone regimes, which either lie in the lower bound of electoral democracy or the upper bound of an electoral autocracy. The former includes Albania, Kenya, Mexico, and Nigeria, and the latter Benin, Guyana, Indonesia, Mauritius, and Mongolia. The report emphasizes that in these cases, classification is associated with some level of uncertainty. Getting to the United States. The United States received special attention in the 2025 VDEM report, which identified the country as undergoing, quote, the fastest evolving period of autocratization the USA has been through in modern history. Although the data and metrics used for the report only extend through the end of 2024, researchers still included alarming findings regarding the US following the election of Donald Trump, who is testing the limits of executive power at a, quote, unprecedented scale. The U.S. president has employed several typical autocratic tactics, such as expanding executive authority, weakening the power of Congress, launching attacks on independent institutions, undermining oversight bodies and the media, and purging and dismantling state institutions. Following the report's publication, U.S. News interviewed Stefan Lindberg, an author and editor of the report, founding director of the VDEM Institute, and a professor of political sciences at the University of Gothenburg. According to Lindberg, the United States will, quote, definitely be downgraded and reclassified in next year's assessment. Quote, at the pace at which it is happening, he noted, I would say that before the end of the summer, you no longer qualify as a democracy in the United States, adding that it would mean that the rule of law, the constraints of the executive, critically, that they would be gone to such an extent that we can no longer talk about even a constitutional republic. Look, yikes. Looking at the bigger picture, 2024 was marked by numerous elections worldwide, with 7 countries experiencing democratic setbacks while only 4 registered democratic progress. However, for most nations, the political landscape remained unchanged. As a result, the previous year overall did not bring significant shifts in the global trend of autocratization. Although they use different indicators, 2 other annual reports presented by Freedom House and the Economist Intelligence Unit also concluded that democracy overall remains in decline. A particularly concerning phenomenon observed throughout the election period was the rise in political violence in several countries. This suggests that authoritarian leaders are increasingly resorting to repression to maintain their grip on power. On the other hand, a positive development was the growing popular mobilization in defense of democracy in several countries that held elections. In some cases, this civic engagement, highlighted in Civicus's recent State of Civil Society report, led to tangible democratic progress, demonstrating that there's still a chance to counteract the authoritarian trend. Those are some numbers that are rather concerning. I realized that, being a Canadian, I'm extremely privileged to be living in a free society. I just had no clue that so few people around the world lived in actual democracies than in autocracies. And that was that the spread was that lopsided. So yeah, really, really uh, frightening news. News that provide not well, I guess it's frightening, yes, but news that provides some perspective and might want to make us reconsider um, the value of rhetoric such as Pierre that says that everything in one of the only 29 um, elected liberal democracies in the world is broken. Because if I'm reading this report perspective wise, I'm seeing that a lot of the world is broken, but we are not among them by any stretch of the imagination. We may be bruised a little bit, as the saying goes, but not broken. Wow. That's something. All right, kids and cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. And I particularly loved it today because I had my good friend Mr. Grizzly with me. Yay! Remember, sharing is caring. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really, really do appreciate it when you do. And remember, again, for those who want to watch, I'm sure it might probably will be televised. 3 p.m. Eastern time today will be the ceremony, official ceremony on the Parliament front lawn for National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. And at Governor General, Prime Minister, many residential school survivors, Indigenous leaders, and dignitaries will also be there to honor the lives. All right. So let's see what else after I say after democracy, something that you do. Yes, kids and cubs, if you are on the go and you would like us to give you a hand because you would like to remain informed, but you don't have time to watch the show, that's okay. Thanks to the Ray Girl. Bum, 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 bum. We have Podpage. Podpage.com/the True North Eager Beaver with a hyphen between each one of those words, or you scan the QR code that just appeared on the screen. When you go there and click subscribe, when we have something fresh off the audiocast bandwidth, it comes directly to you, to your favorite podcast feed. And that way you can pop us in your ears and take us with you. And that way you can be on the go and remain informed at the same time. Now, kids and cubs, if you would like to help us, well, we would surely appreciate your help. And you can do that by grabbing your surfboard and coming on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, where we have 3 buttons for you: like, share, and subscribe. Kids Elaine and Cassie would very much approve of you giving them a little click. And it makes us very happy when you do that, kids and cubs. And it also helps us with the algorithm. So do, as 26,600 subscribers so far have, and become a member of the best DamFam in all of podcasting. It's a good thing. And if you are on the chat, remember, kids and cubs, there is a DamFam Discord that you can join. And I'm sure that somebody will put the link in the chat so that the conversation and the good vibes from the DamFam keep going after the show is over. So hang out with all the cool kids. All right, kids and cubs, if you would like to help us in other ways, we do incur some financial costs to bring the show to you, and we would be very grateful for your assistance in helping to cover them, because this year our goal is to try to break even for the first time, and we would really, really love that. So if you could help us achieve that goal, we would be most grateful for that. And you can do that by leaving a tip, because we shake it for tips here. Take some of that, a little of that. Add our tip jar, or as we affectionately call it, the Beaver Lodge's Emergency Hydration Fund. And you could reach it by scanning that QR code that just appeared in the corner, or going to our coffee page at coffee, Yes, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver. I got a little lost in my web address. Oh, I've noticed that I turn red when I bring the cup to my face to have a drink. That's really weird. I guess the lens is picking up on the red of the cup. How interesting. Okay, so if you would like to make a contribution to the Emergency Hydration Fund, you go to our coffee page, as we mentioned, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, or you scan the QR code and just leave us a couple of loonies or toonies in there. It really makes our day when you do. And like I said, uh, every day we take another step towards being a little more financially secure as a show so that we can keep this going for you. Because as Mr. Grizzly and I have said, we're in this for the long haul. So we're a good investment if you would like to make a little donation. We appreciate everything that you do, Kids and Cubs. Now, if you're doing the Buy Canadian thing, Kids and Cubs, I'll say I just turned red without the cup now. I guess maybe I got too close to the. I seem to be picking up the color of everything around me like a chameleon. Kids and Cubs, if you would like to make sure that your transaction is fully Canadian because you're doing the Buy Canadian thing, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is our email address. And please just send us a direct transfer that way. It's a Canadian institution to Canadian institution. No USCE Tech Bros or the Brolicarchy is going to take a cut of your money, and we get 100% of it, which means that we can do more. Your donation goes further. It's a win-win-win. Thank you so much for your support. Because democracy is something that you do, Kids or Cubs, remember forever-canadian.ca. That's your webpage for all things keeping Alberta in Canada. And let's support Mr. Thomas Lukasik in his effort to collect at least 294,000 signatures to put such a question on a citizens' initiative ballot. You can sign up to be a canvasser there. You can donate to the organization because they too need some funds to do their work. You can find out where your most recent pop-up, where your closest pop-up location is. And in some instances, they even have some teams, if you are mobility impaired, who will go out to you to get your signature. And you might be able to find out there on the website whether or not there's a team available for you, whether that service is available. And if it's not there, do call and ask, because I'm sure this seems to be a group that is very committed, that even if there isn't a formally organized mechanism for that in whatever town or city in which you happen to find yourself, there might be somebody motivated enough that if you're willing to sign, to come to you. Okay, just make sure that you get your signature in. Kids and Cubs as well. If you're in Newfoundland and Labrador, remember there's a provincial election happening on the 14th of October. So get to know your candidates, volunteer in phone bank for some of them if you really believe in them, or do call Elections Newfoundland and Labrador and see if there are any positions to work at a polling station. That's something that's a very rewarding work, and everybody should do it at least once. I highly recommend it. And of course, remember that if you want a little more honesty in Parliament, there is that petition being circulated. So you go to ourcommons.ca and ask for petition E6679. Look it up on ethical issues. And we have 25,720 signatures to date. And let's see if we can get it up to as high as possible. We still have a little less than 2 months to get all the signatures. It closes on November 27th. It would be really cool if we could get to 100,000 on this. But the more signatures, the more we send the message to the government that this is something we really want them to act on. So we hope to get your help with that. All right, words of wisdom today, Kids and Cubs, on this day in particular, like Mr. Grizzly, take some time to listen and learn. And as well, the words of the chief, take some time to reflect, but the reflection is not enough. Don't only reflect on the day, but reflect on what is one thing that you can do this year in your own way to move reconciliation forward. So think about that today, and hopefully beyond thinking about that, once you've come up with something, make a commitment to do it. Right? Let's all do our part. Many hands make for light work. Okay. Kids and cubs, it can be a tough world out there. So please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And now, kids and cubs, at the count of three, if I may, can I please request all together you saying, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock. 1, 2, 2.5, 3. There you are, kids and cubs. I'm just playing with you. I'm just playing with you. You asked so sweetly, and you didn't hold my little prank against me. So there we go. I must oblige. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors. The Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community. And The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right, kids and cubs, before we go, we love Heritage Minutes on our show, and Kit Uncover today sent us a couple of clips, and I think we might show a few of them over the rest of the week if we have the opportunity, or maybe a little bit next week as well, because there's lots of good content about residential schools and other stuff out there that we didn't want to load up the day with it, but we might be able to present a few more over the next coming days there. So thank you for doing that work for us, Kit Uncover. But she has one here that I don't think I had seen yet about the Inukshuk. So here we get some clubs in case you hadn't seen it either. Thank you to Historica Canada for this content.
But I'm in trouble and they're building an Inukshuk. They come across them miles from anywhere. Well, maybe now I'll find out what they're for.
She said, now the people will know we were here. Now the people will know we were here.
And there you go, kids and cubs. That's all I got for you today. We will see you tomorrow, and like magic, I am disappearing.